that you ordinarily wouldn't do. And that's what the Lord wants us to do. He wants us to get out of our comfort zone and step out and do what He would have us to do. And so I appreciate the Lord. I appreciate this journey that we're on. And it is a journey. It doesn't happen all overnight, but it's a process that we're going through, that the Lord has taken us through to get us where He wants us to be. And I appreciate the Lord. Every trial, every test, everything that we go through, we know that is to cause us to draw closer to Him. And so we accept those things that we wouldn't do on our own, but the Lord, He takes us to those places. He takes us through those things because He knows that we need something in our life. There needs to be something added to us, and the only way we can get that is when He applies the heat, the pressure, and then He gets what He wants. And so we just want to allow the Lord to continue to work in our lives and to bring us to that place of completion in Him. And that's what we're striving. We're striving to be like Him. That's the aim of this, is to be like Him. And so what we say, what we do, we're to be like Him. And so that's what this walk is about. When people see us, they ought to be able to see Him. And so we have a great responsibility with what the Lord has given us. And it was like Israel. All the nations about them, they were different. They stuck out because they were different because of the God that they served. The God that we serve should cause us to be different. It should cause us to talk different. It should cause us to walk different, to live different, to interact with people differently. And so we want to be like Him. And when Brother Brentley asked me to come, and you begin to think, and well, Lord, what should I say? What would you have me to say? And the word that came to my mind was more. And we look at the world we're living in, and everybody wants more. They want more money, more time, more things, but we want more of Him. See, we want more of Him. That's where our success is, in having more of Him. And as we enter into this new year, to be able to have more of Him. That's what success is having more of Him. See, when we have Him, we have everything. See, He owns everything. He controls everything. So we just need to get more of Him. We look at the world, we can begin to think like the world thinks. Well, I just need more money. No, we just need the one that has it all. And when you look through the scripture and you see all that God did for His people, see, they didn't have to lack anything because they were serving Him. They were obeying Him. And if we can just get to that place that we realize in Matthew, the 5th chapter, the 6th verse, and He said, they that hunger and thirst after righteousness will be filled. See, that's what we want more of Him. See, if we're hungering and thirsting after the right things, He's going to give us that. He's going to fill us up with that. And that's what this is about our relationship with Him. Our relationship with Him. When you look in the Word of God and you look at Abraham, you look at Moses, look at Noah, and the relationship they had with God, nothing else mattered. He could ask them to do whatever, and they were obedient because of the relationship that they had with Him. And I want to have that kind of relationship with Him, because if I can have the right relationship with Him, nothing else matters. Doesn't matter what comes my way, what I have to face, what I have to go through. If I've got the right relationship with Him, everything's going to be all right. And He's going to look after me. In the book of Esther, and Haman devised a plan to destroy all the Jews. But the king couldn't sleep that night. He said, bring the books, begin to read the books. You know, if you can't sleep, just start to read. Start to read the Bible, you'll fall asleep. But he said, bring the books, and they began to read, and they saw where Mordecai had told of a plot to kill the king. He said, well, what are we going to do about that? You know, and Haman had already gotten a decree that they could kill the Jews. But Ahasuerus, he couldn't sleep that night. That was God working. See, God can work on your behalf when you don't even know it. When people are devising things against you, God can work on your behalf. And so he couldn't sleep, and they began to read and read what Mordecai had done. And Haman came and he began to ask, well, what should I do to this person? And of course, he thought it was about him. But he told him, you go and do it to Mordecai. And see, that's how God works on our behalf. He works on our behalf when we don't even know it. When we don't even know what's going on. We don't know the plans that people are devising against you, but God knows. See, he knows. And that's what we want. We want to be in relationship with God so that he knows that he's listening when they're devising plans against you, and that he can work on our behalf. And so more, we want more of him. That's the answer to our problem, is more of him. If we can just get closer to him. And so we want to have more of him. He said, I am come that they may have life and have it more abundantly. See, that's why he came. See, we can have more. Over in 1 Corinthians, the 12th chapter, and before going into that 13th chapter, Paul said, there's a more excellent way. See, there's more. See, we like to stop before God's done, but he's saying there's more. Just come up a little higher. There's more. I want to give you more. I want to help you more. Just come up a little bit higher. But he said Paul said there's a more excellent way. And so we just don't want to settle where we're at, but we want to realize that there's more that God has in store for us. As his people, there's more that he wants to give us. There's more that he wants to do for us, but we got to come up higher. See, we have to get to that place of relationship with him to be able to experience that more that he's wanting to give us. And so as we start this new year, let's get more for him. It's that song that says, I want more of Jesus. More and more and more. I want more of Jesus than I've ever had before. I want more of his great love, so rich, so full and free. I want more of Jesus, so I'll give him more of me. And so that's what we got to do. We've got to give him more of us. See, John the Baptist had it right. He said, I must decrease so that he can increase. That's what it takes in our life. We have to decrease. We want to see him increase in our life, then we've got to decrease. We've got to deny ourselves, take up our cross, and follow him. And so we appreciate the Lord for the things that he's given us, the help that he has given us, and that he's willing to help us. See, we're not in this by ourselves. He told the disciples, you that hear, more will be given. See, we got to listen. What is the Lord saying? Listen to what the Lord is saying, because if we can hear him, he's going to give us more. If we can hear him. I'm reminded of Moses as he was out there in the desert and he was walking along and he saw that bush burning and he turned aside. See, God was trying to get his attention. He could have walked right on by the bush, gone about his business, but he turned aside. And when he turned aside, the Lord began to speak to him. And the Lord is trying to get our attention if we'll just turn aside. and hear what the Lord is saying, He'll do something special in our life. He'll give us more. Moses wasn't expecting what he got. He began to make all kind of excuses why he couldn't do what God was asking him to do. But he turned aside. And God began to talk to him. And so if we can just be aware, if we can just listen and hear the voice of the Lord. That widow of Zarephath, the prophet Elisha, the Lord sent him there. There was a famine in the land, and she was out there and she was gathering sticks. She was getting ready to eat her last bit of meal and oil. That's all she had, gathering sticks. Her and her son, they were going to eat that and die. And the prophet came and he said, make me one first. And every time she went to the barrel and the oil, there was more in it. See, there was more in it. Because she obeyed. See, she obeyed. If we can just learn to obey the Lord. When it looks like there's nothing there, there'll be more. There'll be more. Because we're obedient to Him. Lord, help us to be obedient. See, there's a humility that the Lord is looking for in us. Not that this idea that I can do it on my own. See, we don't have to do this on our own. The world teaches you can do it on your own. Just pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. But we depend on the Lord. Our help comes from the Lord. And if we can realize that, if we can humble ourselves, see, I'm not my own, I'm bought with a price. See, I don't have to do this myself, but I can depend on the Lord. I can trust in the Lord and allow Him to help me. I can allow Him to direct my paths. And so that's what we're striving to do, is allow the Lord to humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God. See, that's what He's looking for us to humble ourselves. And if we'll do that, the Lord will take care of us. The Lord will lead us. The Lord will guide us. In Psalms 42, it says, as the deer panteth after the water. See, that's the kind of desire that we've got to have. You look at these animals as they're migrating. They're looking for water. They're searching for water. There's a longing for water. And if we'll have that kind of longing after the Lord, that's what He's looking for, that kind of desire. When you're thirsty and you get that drink of water, there's a refreshing that comes. And so if we can have that desire for the Lord, if we can want the Lord with that desire, He said He'd fill us. And so we want to allow the Lord to fill us. In Psalms 23, said, my cup runneth over. We can have our cup to running over. There was a song that Sister Veely said, I'm drinking from my saucer because my cup's overflowing. You're talking about having more. More. We can have more of the Spirit of God, that it overflows. It can affect somebody else. It can touch somebody else. And we just want the Lord to have His way in our life. Learn to depend upon Him, trust in Him, and just know that He's over everything. See, He's over it. People think they're in charge, but He's in charge. He rules in the kingdoms of men. He's in charge. You don't have to worry about what they're saying, what they're devising against you. God's in control. And if it happens, then it's God working. It's God working. Maybe He's trying to work something out of me. And we need to be willing to allow the Lord to work on us, to make us what He wants us to be. And so stay in the process. Don't try to get out of the process. And he gave the different talents to the different ones. And the ones that had the 5 talents, he produced 5 more. And it said He gave him more. See, God is looking at us. What are we doing with what he's given us? You want more? What are you doing with what God has already given you? See, we got to take what God has given us and do something with it. If we want to have more, we got to do with what he's already given us. And don't shirk away from the responsibility that he's placed upon us as his people to show forth his praises, to do his will in the earth. And so if we'll do that, he'll give us more. He'll give you more responsibility. In John, the 14th chapter, he talked about the vine and the branches. And see, he wants us to produce more. And he knows the only way for us to produce more, he's got to prune us. You know, when you start pruning a tree, it looks like you killed it. Looks like you killed it. When we were at Charlotte, Brother Gordon, he trimmed those trees there at the porch. It looked like he killed them. He chopped those things down, looked like they were dead. But guess what? They came back. They came back fuller. And he knows that he's going to have to prune us. See, we don't want to feel that pruning, but that's what it takes for us to grow. And so he prunes us so that we can produce more. See, we have to be willing to allow the Lord to prune us, because he knows when he does that, he's going to get more fruit. And so we have to allow the Lord to work on us so that he can have what he's after. And so I appreciate the Lord, appreciate being here, appreciate what he's done in my life. I know that he's real. I've experienced the realness of the Lord. I know that I can trust him. See, that's why you have to go through things, because then you know that the Lord can trust, you can trust him. See, if you never go through anything, you don't know. But when you go through something and the Lord is there, the Lord helps you, he brings you through, then you know you can trust him. You never have to worry about the Lord being there with you, because you learn to trust him. And so we have to be willing to go through those things to learn to trust him. And we can trust him. He's never failed us. He'll never will fail us. Job thought he had failed him. But he found out that he hadn't failed him at all. That he was right there. See, he was right there. See, we're the ones that move away from the Lord. When you look at the Garden of Eden, after Adam and Eve had sinned, guess what? He still showed up to meet with them. See? We need to remember that. Don't run and hide. You need to show up and meet with him. See, because he's willing to forgive us. He cares about us. And we just need to be willing to show up. He wants to give us more. Let's allow him to give us more. Let's allow him to help us and bring us to that place that we need to be. So it's good to be here. It says he satisfies the longing soul with good things. See, when we long after him, see, he'll satisfy us. See, he'll satisfy you. And we want to allow the Lord to satisfy us. And it reminds me of David. Those few little sheep, his brothers, they told him, you need to go back and watch those few little sheep. But the Lord had more for David. See, he had something more. David was learning something while he was out there watching those sheep. See, because God had something more for him to do. He was going to have him watching over the sheep of Israel. And David was out there learning. So where you're at today, the Lord has more for you. Learn where you're at today, because he has something more for you to do. And you're learning right now. But there'll be a day when the Lord moves you up, that he has something more for you, and you'll be able to do it. So I appreciate the Lord. Thank the Lord.